Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pash On Podcast. Let's get started with your host, Brian Pash.
Hi, this is Brian Pash, and welcome to another podcast. On today's show, we have Todd Caputo. He's the president of the Sun Auto Group, and we're going to do a deep dive into modern retail, the changes that dealers are facing to be more relevant, to provide a faster, easier, mostly online experience to buy a car. Todd, thanks so much for offering your time to be on today's podcast.
No problem. Nice to talk to you, Brian, as always.
So, Todd, for people who don't know the Sun Auto Group, give us a little geolocation, how many years you've been in business, and approximately how many cars, new and used total, you're selling a month.
So we are in the upstate New York market, central New York to be exact. We're in Syracuse. We've got 3 locations, opening up a 4th in about a week and a half. We started at our Chevrolet dealership, which my dad founded 41 years ago this year, Sun Chevrolet. And we have 2 large independent used car dealerships. One has been in business for 16 years. The other one's been in business for 10. And we're opening up our 3rd independent used car store in about 2 weeks or less. And we're expecting to retail about 1,200 cars out of the new location, hopefully as soon as we get open. Last year, we retailed 5,520 cars between the 3 dealerships. 710 were new, and the rest were pre-owned.
Great. And Todd, you and I have talked about this conversation before. We've talked for my book. We've had you on the main stage at the Digital Marketing Strategies Conference, AAS. Let's dive in for a moment. What made you decide that it was time to change the retail experience for consumers? Obviously, your father started the business, probably like most dealers, you followed a typical playbook. What was the tipping point for you that said, man, I got to do something different?
I noticed that customers were changing more than anything else due to technology. Customers have access to a level of transparency and pricing now that they never have had before in the past ever, especially when it comes to buying a car. And I also noticed that for the most part, most people in general, especially consumers, they don't have a lot of time. I think time is probably the most valuable resource that we all have, and it shouldn't take very long for somebody to buy a car, whether they're in a dealership or outside of a dealership, whether they're home or work. They should be able to do it online. I noticed how strong Carvana was becoming, and CarMax, Echo Parks, the one price dealerships of the world that were successful. And it led me on a journey really across the country. And I visited several, small dealer groups and large dealer groups that had gone one price and some that were doing digital retailing. And I realized that I needed to change in order to be relevant and to continue to keep my business successful and be more successful and to grow, because I truly believe it's what consumers want. They want a transparent process. They want an upfront process. They want to be able to shop online and get answers to questions that they have online without having to fill out a form or have somebody bother them. That's a salesperson or a BDC rep, and they want to just be able to do it their way and shop their way and buy cars their way, not our way.
So, Todd, let's clarify then a couple of things that you have in place today, because today's podcast is talking about your successes and some of the potholes you ran into on the road to change. Is your store a one-price store, both for new and used cars?
Yes, all 3 stores and the 4th one that's opening, we are all one price for new and used.
And how long ago was that change made?
That change was made December 1st of 2019.
And did that coincide with implementing digital retailing tools on your website, or was that decision made first and then later digital retailing?
They were both made together. They were both done at the same time. They were planned out prior to December 1st and put in place on the same day.
All right, so let's peel this onion back a little bit. I know from working in Minnesota, where there's a kind of a epicenter of one price stores, that it takes a lot of training to undo the word tracks, the email templates, just conversations like, come on in and we'll negotiate a better price. These are words that just roll off most salesmen's tongues as they're talking with consumers on the phone. How long did it take for you prior to this launch in December? How did you prepare the team for that mental change, that tactical change, the communication strategies? A lot of dealers
In
are thinking about it, but they don't really know what's involved.
in April of 2018, we had made the decision to go one price and to be able to digital retail. We notified everybody in the company in variable ops that we were going to be doing this, and we told them we had a timeline put in place, and that December 1st we were going to launch, and that it meant a change in process, it meant a change in compensation, and the way that we did business, and we shared with everybody the vision, and we asked them to believe in what we were doing. And I had typical car people that worked for me for the most part, good people, great people, a lot of people that been with me for a long time and made a lot of money. And some of them believed and some of them didn't. And I will tell you right now that from April of 2018 until now, I went through 95% turnover in variable ops between all three dealerships, 95%. All the salespeople, with the exception of a couple, left. Most of the managers left either by choice or we asked them to leave. It was a huge, huge transition, and it was pretty costly at first, but it's now starting to pan out. We also eliminated F&I managers, which was another dramatic thing as well. So we're a single point of contact also. So it was a huge, huge change, and it was very difficult, especially with the people, because a lot of these people had worked for me for a long time, and I had, I was close with them, and they left.
So, Todd, let me get this timeline straight. April 2018, you made the decision, and you went live December 2018 or 2019?
December 2019.
So it was a year and a half in the making?
Correct. It was a year and a half in the making. Well, no, it wasn't really a year and a half in the making. It took about 8 months to launch on December 1st.
Okay, so it was
Excuse me, I take that back. We launched. I apologize. So we launched December 1st of 2018 was a soft launch, and
okay.
January 1 of 2019. I apologize. Yeah, I apologize. I messed up my year, so that's wrong. It was April 2018. We told everybody. We trained. We put Roadster in place, and then went live on December 1st of 2018 with a soft launch, and then we did a hard launch on January 1st of 2019. So we've got a year and a couple of months under our belt.
Okay, so there's so much to unpack in this one podcast, and hopefully we can keep everyone engaged. I know there's a lot of questions people are having right now as they're listening. Very few leaders would be willing to rip off the Band-Aid and, in a sense, flush their entire sales and management team for a new model. 8 months in the making. Are you glad that you pulled the trigger and made the decision?
Yeah, I don't regret it, not one bit.
And for the people who are skeptics about eliminating F&I managers who say, Brian, our F&I managers are our salespeople. Our people on the floor are weak. There is absolutely no way we could hold our PVR if the F&I managers were taken out of the sales process. What do you say to them? What did you have to do to make that transition? And has the PVR increased or decreased?
So the PVR, if I had to do one thing a little bit differently, I don't know if I would have eliminated the F&I managers initially right off the bat, because it was pretty costly. So we're improving quite a bit now in F&I, but that was definitely an area where it's been a challenge. We've been training our automotive advisors, that we call them, to really be able to take a no and turn it into a yes in the showroom when someone wants to buy an extended service agreement or any other ancillary finance product. And we actually engaged with a new company this year called DealerMax, who's worked with other single point of contact stores, and they're really doing a good job for us. I don't know if I told you this before, but we also eliminated our BDC in November of 2018 as well.
Okay, so let's set the stage. April 2018, you make the decision. Over the next 18 months, you decide to go to a single point of contact, eliminating the BDC, eliminating F&I managers. You're going to one price. You launch. You've had a year under your belt.
And then we put a new DMS in April of 2019.
So you are like a true glutton for punishment.
Correct. Exactly.
So what is Dealer Max doing for you? You mentioned that maybe you shouldn't have jettisoned the F&I managers right at the beginning. Maybe that should have been a stage thing. What is Dealer Max doing to help you?
They're really working with our automotive advisors to, teach them to take a no in the showroom and turn it into a yes. That's really the biggest thing that they're doing for us.
Okay. Now, you made some mistakes.
And we put some software in place as well. We put Darwin in place also, Brian.
Great. So you're learning, you're innovating, you're measuring. If you looked at the month of February, which we just completed, and the average PVR in the vehicles of February 2020, and you look back, 2 years ago, how would you, before you made this big change, how does the PVR now, today, compare to what it used to be with an F&I manager?
So group wide, we used to be a little over 50% warranty penetration when I had F&I managers. Last month in February, group wide, we were about 37%. But we were as low, last year we had some months where we were in the low to mid 20s as far as penetration goes because we did not have F&I managers. The difficult part for me was I couldn't tell the public and present myself when we marketed ourselves that we were single point of contact and transparent and upfront and not truly be that. And I believe that when you have F&I managers, you can't be. It's just the way that our business is done, especially in the F&I office, is not truly transparent and upfront. And I didn't want to say I was something that I wasn't. And again, it was very costly financially, but I'm a person of faith and a person of principle. And the right thing to do is if you say that you're single point of contact and you're giving somebody a truly transparent and upfront process, you have to do it without F&I managers. I truly believe that.
And I understand that completely, Todd. So there are some people hearing these numbers, 50% warranty penetration down to 37%. That's a huge financial gap. Have other products or strategies been able to fill that void? Are you, because one price, because there's less going back and forth about price, how is the total deal looking today, a year later?
Well, our front end gross went up from when we went to one price, which was good. The front end gross went up quite a bit. The back end gross is where we, where we suffered a lot, and it was very, very costly financially. But I knew going into this that it was going to be at least a 24-month process, and we're a little over halfway through it now, and we're continuing to improve every single month in F&I.
So, Todd, think about the people who are listening and saying, there's absolutely no way that I would take that financial hit. Would you then advise them over this next year to phase, in the year one, you phase out the F&I instead of doing like cold turkey? Or
yeah, if I had to do it all over again, I don't think I would have. Matter of fact, I know I wouldn't have done what I did with F&I right off the bat.
Okay. And let's look at the picture of the customer experience today. When I asked you the question, would you do it all over again? You said yes. Is that based on some tangible feedback you're getting from consumers? Are you finding referrals are up? I mean, what are some of the other metrics that tell you you're in the right direction? Be patient.
First of all, I would tell you that let's look at what's happening in the store first. The culture in the dealership is 1,000 times better. Our turnover is drastically lower. We don't have a bunch of self-entitled car men and women running around the dealership all thinking they should make $120,000 a year selling cars and $250,000 a year as a finance manager. And again, no disrespect to anybody in any of those positions because everybody in this business works very hard, including myself. But There's just the gross isn't there to pay this kind of money out anymore. It's not. I've got, call them millennials or whatever you want to call them. I've got a group of younger people here in the dealership and a lot of women, to be honest with you. We've been able to attract a lot more women that have come and work for us now. They like doing business this way. My employees are happier. They're making less money than what I used to pay the other people. They don't complain nearly as much. And then let's take the customers. My reviews are outstanding. Again, we don't make everybody happy, but I would tell you that they're a heck of a lot happier now buying cars this way, and whether it's online or in the dealership versus the old way. And I was really scared. I was like, everybody thinks that they can negotiate on a car. What's going to happen when they walk in? And we tell them that we don't do that anymore, and we tell them why, where they're going to leave. Well, it's been the exact opposite. And I spend a lot of time on my showroom floors. Customers are relieved. They don't want to have to go back and forth. People don't have time for that anymore. They just don't. They don't have time for the nonsense. They like buying cars this way. Their reviews aren't one or two sentences or somebody just clicking a star. Their reviews are paragraphs. Then they're going on Facebook and they're writing paragraphs about how they recommend the dealerships. Customers really like this way, and they're referring customers here to us all the time.
Well, that's great to hear, Todd. And I know that this is the future. We know that the stereotypes about buying a car are often well-deserved. Surely not painting the whole industry with the same brush, but there are obvious broken pieces of automotive retail, people standing, waiting for the next up, pouncing on people when they come on the lot, 3 or 4 or 5 different people emailing the same customer, sometimes telling them different stories. I mean, there's so many broken pieces to that. Let's talk about a couple of the decisions you made, because this is a meaty podcast. You eliminated the BDC. Now, I understand that David Kane has a number of years ago started this idea of business development dealership, that everyone should be competently trained to respond to an email, to use the CRM. Obviously, one of the reasons why the BDC was done is because they had established salespeople who wanted to do things their way. They didn't care about using the CRM or accountability, but they were selling 30 cars, so the dealership principal was not going to rock the boat. So they said, okay, half of the people will do this internet thing, the other half don't. Okay, I need a BDC. When you switch to a single point of contact, and I know from working in the industry, single point of contact in itself can improve conversion rates by 10%. Just think about that number financially on a business. What was the hardest thing? People say if you don't have a BDC, then people can't get someone on the line to answer their question right away. What do you say to that?
We provide every bit of information that a customer is possibly going to want to know on the website. The price of the car is obviously one price. Who we are, why we do business the way we do it. We provide the window sticker of the car, what it was, what a used car was, what it was brand new. We use Monroney labels for that. We provide a Carfax for free. We allow people to compute their own payments. We allow people to get their own trade-in values. We give them every bit of information. We also, have badges on our website that indicate whether or not the car is available or not. So the only reason why people truly call anymore, for the most part, is to ask whether or not the car is still truly at the dealership and when they can come and see it. Everything is online, and they don't have to fill out a form to just give us their name to create a quote-unquote lead to get that information. Everything's completely transparent up front. They can start the process at home, the buying process at home, or the shopping process at home, and finish it up in store. So typically when they're coming in, it's just because they want to come in and buy the car.
So Todd, 2 things. You mentioned you have a digital retailing platform in place, and here's what I'm seeing. Some technology platforms allow the consumer to explore their payments, do their trade without putting in their contact information. Others are set that as soon as somebody wants to explore their payments, as soon as they want to, get their best deal, that lead form pops up. What's your thought? What's happening on your website? If I wanted to calculate my payments, evaluate my trade, can I do that anonymously? And what led you to that decision?
You don't buy anything else that way. When you want to go to Zappos and get a pair of shoes, you're filling out your name when you want to buy it. When you go to pretty much any other product online, you're not giving up your personal information until you actually want to buy the product or you've got a serious question. I don't see why the car business really needs to be any different. I don't.
Well,
Anytime anybody's giving up their name is because they're applying for credit or they want to buy a car. Other than that, everything else can be done completely anonymously, and people find it refreshing.
Well, I would have to agree with you, Todd, except we have an industry, and even the OEMs are partially responsible here. This whole idea of measuring all success, all metrics, all benchmarks on number of leads. And so people have been smart to pop up coupons, which are annoying, or pop up unlock price buttons. I think consumers are pretty smart. They use throwaway email addresses. I think that is part of the reason why BDC contact rates are so low, because they use the throwaway email address just to get what they want. The dealer never gets what they want.
We sold in 2018, we sold about 5,000 cars total as a group. In 2019, I sold a little over 5,500 cars as a group, and I did it without a BDC. And I did it with salespeople that didn't work on commissions anymore, sold more cars, and that means a lot. And when it comes to the BDC, we still have some people that do service BDC because I do see value in that. But when it comes to sales BDC, I just don't see it as being necessary anymore. And honestly, I can't afford it. It costs me between $500,000 and $600,000 a year to, run my BDC. It's too much. The margins aren't there.
Todd, have you?
And any car dealer will agree with that. The margins are not there.
Sure, absolutely. And that's why I wanted to have you on, because you were one of the few leaders in the industry that were willing to take a significant risks. So we talked about this one piece. Front end gross was up. Back end gross historically is still down. But from the other decisions that you made, which was eliminating many of the high salaried leadership, eliminating the BDC, did they offset each other? Meaning the savings from the BDC, the savings from eliminating F&I, when you added all those costs, the labor costs, the turnover, the cost of retraining employees, could you say that net the dealership
it was almost a wash. Yeah.
Okay. So even though you scared the hell out of people who heard what was going on the back end, the other things, there were some other positive cost-cutting measures in place.
Everything that we've done, in my opinion, has been a positive. The culture in my dealerships is 1,000 times better than it used to be. You can't put a dollar value on that. You can't truly put a dollar value on turnover. I mean, I know people try, but it's tough. Put a dollar value on the time it takes to train, and really put a dollar value on a happy customer. You can't. It's those are certain things you can't put a dollar value on, but customers love doing business this way. They absolutely love it.
Todd, just as an entrepreneur, in my own business, I've reinvented myself a number of times. I started in 2005 just focusing on SEO, and expanded into digital marketing, then expanded into books and running conferences. And part of that was this fear of losing relevance and adapting to shifting market attentions. I know there are many dealers who are wondering what my future looks like. I don't want to put words in your mouth, so I want to hear it from you. But can you sleep better at night knowing that your business model is more robust in its current structure and won't get blown up by disruptors?
Absolutely. And also, I believe it makes my business model much more scalable.
And
that's why we're opening up another location.
You can attract more workers that would typically not apply to a commission cutthroat sales model?
Absolutely, 100%. That's one reason. Another thing too, I mentioned it before and I'll mention it again, is we had always a difficult time attracting women, especially in variable ops. It's the exact opposite now. We're attracting a lot more women, not only in automotive advisor positions, but in management as well. We've promoted a lot of women to key positions in this company, and they're doing an amazing job. The culture wasn't that way before. Not like we weren't bad before, but I think we're a hell of a lot better now.
And Todd, when you talk about culture, lower turnover, attracting more women, there's so many questions I have. I just want to ask too, have you made schedules more flexible because you have less difficulties attracting new sales associates like women. Is there such thing as a part-time person in your organization? What have you done to address the other issue about our industry of these kind of like you can't really have a family or family life and work in the car dealership?
We've changed the schedule dramatically. We don't have anybody in variable ops that works part-time, I would call it, at least that's selling cars or in a leadership position. But they have a lot more flexibility, especially with weekends and Saturdays, just for that reason that you're mentioning. A lot of times with people, the time off is more valuable to them than money, to be quite honest with you.
And for the bean counters out there who are trying to assess if they want to take the jump with Todd Caputo, what would an average sales associate be making per year in your organization?
What would they, or what do they make now?
Yeah, I mean, in general, if someone's hearing this and saying, hey, Brian, I'm hearing I want more women because more women are decision makers in the car buying process. I want less turnover. I like this, but in my market, I'm not sure if that model is going to have a salary that's going to attract the people that Todd's talking about. What do the sales associates in this new model make approximately a year?
Someone that performs average is going to make in the 50s. Someone that performs above average is going to make between 75 and 90. Someone that performs well above average, meaning they're selling over 30 cars a month and they've got fantastic finance penetration numbers, they're going to make over 100. I had my best guy last year. He was selling 35 cars a month and he made about 120,000, but he also was he was at 40, actually almost 50% warranty penetration. He was at 30% for chems, and he was about 20% for other.
Well, I think those salary ranges are absolutely attractive to people who now don't have to worry about negotiating price. They can basically use technology that matches what the consumer sees on the website right in the showroom, have a more collaborative conversation, and let the car and the product itself be the focus of attention, not price. That seems to appeal to a lot more people.
Absolutely.
Todd, you are a rare bird that would change, getting rid of the BDC, going to one price, going to a single point of contact, installing
New DMS,
new retail tech. But I'm really glad you did because so many dealers are half in. They've installed some digital retailing tool and all they're using it as a super lead generator. There's no merchandising, there's no change in culture. And now some dealers are on their third digital retailing platform, believe it or not, third digital retailing. And I think part of it is because digital retailing has been sold as technology, where I think it is 50% leadership, 20% marketing, 20% merchandising, maybe 10% technology. It would be remiss if we didn't talk about the technology. You are using Roadster. And so you've basically unlocked Roadster. The consumer can do all of their price discovery when they want to make an appointment or do a finance. They'll disclose their information. How has the support of the software been, and how much did you have to change or customize to get your flow correct?
Roadster's been a fantastic partner for us to work with. They've been outstanding. They're extremely attentive. They send a performance manager here every 6 weeks. He works with training, and they're great. I mean, and the leadership team at Roadster is fantastic. They're first class. There's not a lot of customization you can do with Roadster. What little customization that we did ask for, they accommodated us, but it's not a matter of putting different buttons and stuff on your VDP. It's not really not what it's about. It's more about the workflow. And that they customize the workflow based on how you do business.
Well, there are many platforms out on the market today. It's my contention, of course, you need a great partner to work with you, but it's also more important to be focusing on what's the experience that I want my consumer to have, work from there backwards, and how am I going to deliver that? And I understand these hard decisions you made is because you had a very clear vision on what you wanted for the consumer to experience, and you're seeing that today in your reviews. Do you believe this new store that you're opening up, And new points are always an interesting challenge. Do you think you have a competitive edge now when you open up a new point, you go into market with this proven one price, one point of contact, transparent model? Do you think that this particular new opening, because you haven't opened a new store in a number of years, is going to be different than previous new store openings?
Yes, I do. I'm already, and the kind of people that we have going in place that are opening up a dealership proves it. The woman is, I've got a female. She's 28 years old. She's going to be running the dealership, and her team consists of all people that are much younger, very forward thinking, very friendly, very nice, and it's going to be great. I can't wait to get open. It really wasn't that easy to, or it really was relatively easy to get the store open, especially when you compare it to what it would take to do a new car store.
And Todd, one question that we constantly get when I'm talking to manufacturers or dealers who are thinking about modern retail, they're asking this question about, well, how many cars were sold off of Roadster? Meaning, how many deals were completely done? I think that's the wrong question. I'm not sure that consumers want to push all the way through, but we might as well ask the question. If you look at all the car deals that are being done today, you're on pace for over 5,500 cars a year. How many people actually do everything they possibly can on Roadster, walk in, and there's very little changes to the deal or car selection? How would you estimate that?
About 5%.
And so would you agree with me? It's about giving the consumer the tools to let them use as much or little as they want, but then to pick up where they left off right when they arrive.
Absolutely. Exactly what we do.
Well,
They
Todd,
can pick it up right where they left off, or they can do the whole thing online or somewhere in between. People just, they love it, Brian. There's no other way to put it than that. They're extremely, extremely happy.
well, I am fearful about sharing this story, but I'm not shy about sharing truth. My son wanted to buy a Tesla, and I was like, "Wow, okay." And he did all his research, and he said, "Would you come with me?" And I was super excited because I wanted to understand the experience, and I made a promise to myself I wasn't going to be involved in the transaction. I wanted to see how my son did the whole thing. And it was an amazing experience. And I will tell you that he walked out of there because he works for me at my business. He's been to some car dealers because we bought a Ford for him a number of years ago. He was there through the whole process. He went through the F&I process. He remembers that. And he said to me, "Dad, why isn't all car buying this easy?" And I was like, I'm so glad that he saw that there is as you mentioned it, there's a value in giving a consumer that wow experience when they didn't expect it. And it sounds that's exactly what's happening at the Sun Auto Group up in New York.
Absolutely.
Todd, thank you so much for your time. I know that this podcast is going to be listened to by manufacturers, car dealers, other technology companies. As we're closing today, I want you to talk to your peers, dealer principals. You've been through an 18-month plus change management process. If there's one thing you would want to tell your peers, imagine standing in front of the entire NADA convention and the room is filled with your peers. 18 months later, what's the one thing you would want to leave them with?
It's a people business. It always has been, and it always will be. Bottom line, from the people that you work with to the people that walk in the door, and you have to have people that believe in what you believe as a business owner. That's really what it comes down to. It's not a widget on your website. It's not a digital retailing tool. It's culture. It truly is. And the only way to do it successfully, in my opinion, is to, again, however you want to measure success is, the way that we did it. You got to rip off the Band-Aid if you believe that it's the future. If you don't believe it's the future, I would not do it. I would not try to do it. I wouldn't go halfway. I think it's something that you either got to go all in or don't do it at all.
That is great advice for our listeners today. If this is the first time you've been listening to a Passion podcast, you should know that every Monday I release a new podcast session with an industry leader, an innovator, a disruptor, and all of these podcasts are to help automotive retail grow and mature to eventually evolve to what we're calling a modern retail experience that consumers love and rave about. And Todd is leading the charge. Up and coming on my calendar is the 11th annual Digital Marketing Strategies Conference. It's in the Napa Valley. It's May 17, 18, 19. We're going to be talking about digital retailing. We're going to be talking about the new ways in which you can engage consumers and serve them online instead of chasing them in the BDC. Todd is one example of what dealers are doing, but there's a few other really cool things that we want to be sharing. And then, of course, each year in the fall, we have the Automotive Analytics and Attribution Summit. That's each year in Palm Beach, Florida. And there we take a look a little bit about the data measurement and the, success goals with a modern retail experience. And obviously, the more and more we rely on technology, the more and more tools that are consistent online and in the store, we definitely have more data to measure time, success, and satisfaction. So I just want to remind our listeners those two conferences are available to you. Thank you for listening to today's podcast, and we look forward to sharing some more time with you in the future on another podcast session.